think we're good to go.
All right. All right. Just trying to get the background up there.
No, it's up there. I see it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. So thank you for tuning in to Big Three Podcast. And I'm joined with, Dylan and
Hey, what's
Jordan.
up,
How you
everybody?
guys doing?
What's going on? What's going on? How you
Yeah.
doing, man?
I mean, I'm good. It's good to see you guys. We've been in the group chat and all that. So now
That's
that we
excited to get
can,
the first podcast down.
Yeah.
Like, it's still excited to start it for sure.
I think we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm excited. I'm passionate about sports. I love sports, talking about sports, passionate about it, debating about it. So I'm excited, man.
All right, cool. That's what it's all about. Sports bringing us all together.
Yes, sir.
All right. So Thursday starts the football season. I know I'm excited about it, and I know you guys are as well. So I guess we'll go ahead, do a little preview, and see how you guys think the divisions will finish and all that. So I guess we'll start with the AFC East, and there's been a lot of turnover. The Patriots have their coaching staff. That seems to be a big story.
Mm-hmm.
Jets still rebuilding. Dolphins made some moves to try to make some moves in the AFC, as well as the Bills, who a lot of people think are favorites. So what do you guys think will happen with the AFC East? I guess we'll start with Dylan.
Okay, so the AFC East, a lot of the noise you hear is that there's like a pretty clear winner. Like the Bills are the favorite. The Bills are going to be the team to win it. They helped out a lot on their defense by picking up Von Miller. They picked up Roger Saffold to help out on that line. They drafted James Cook. Gabriel Davis is poised to have a big big like breakout season this year for the Bills. So the Bills are the favorite. I have the Dolphins as the second best team in the league this year. I think adding Tyreek Hill, I think that offense is going to be a lot. I feel like Mike McDaniels is going to be a good coach. I feel like Tua is going to kind of get under a good system, a good stride. I believe the Dolphins are going to have a good run game. Chase Edmonds has been getting a lot of hype, so I think the Dolphins are a team that are going to be good, show a lot of flashes, and be a fun team to watch this year. Don't think they might be playoff ready. It's just really hard to tell. The AFC is pretty stacked, especially in the AFC West, so it's really hard to just give a team a playoff spot like the Dolphins. So next I would have the Patriots being around a 7 and 10ish range. Their whole offensive coaching system is a lot. It's very confusing. It's who's going to be calling their plays this year?
Well, I think
Patricia.
Patricia,
yeah. I heard Patricia is going to be doing that, and he's going to be the offensive line coach, which is his first year doing either things, which is a little bit nerve-wracking. And then I have the Jets being last. We don't know how long this Zach Wilson injury is going to last. I heard he might be able to come back week 1, maybe not. It's really hard to just believe in the Jets over recent success. I do like all the stuff they did get in this offseason. I do think they will be a better team. But again, just in a loaded AFC, it's really hard to give them a lot of wins. I just need to see more and probably more out of them, more just production wise. I need to see more of Zach Wilson before I can give him up into higher wins, higher echelon area.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I think the Bills will have some pressure as well, because a lot of people are expecting them to be a Super Bowl team. And Josh Allen, you can't really doubt him. He's one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the AFC, but you could say in the NFL right now. And he's still kind of ascending, which is a little bit scary for, especially me as a Patriots fan. And, Miami, I like what they did. I still have questions about Tua, though. I don't know do you guys think Tua is the right guy to get the Dolphins back to the playoffs?
I think that, I guess for right now, for the present, he would be. Because right now, every team is trying to get established. You got the Panthers with Baker Mayfield. You have, Watson. He's suspended, but you have Brissett in that spot. So I guess for right now, Tua will be the right option for the season. But who knows? Free agency is going to be wild next year. So who knows who might be? Like you said, Kyle. I'm not sure if Tua is going to be that quarterback for the long run. It all remains to be seen. They got Tyreek Hill, one of the best receivers in the league, and they got Waddle. So he has the pieces around him to do it, for sure. But it all remains to be seen, man. And but for right now, yeah, he'd be the better option for the Dolphins.
All right. And I guess, Jordan, do you kind of have the AFC East playing out the same way Dylan did? Or
right now I'm kind of looking at the 2021 season, how it played out. So I mean, the Buffalo Bills are 11-6. They had the New England Patriots, they were 10-7. Miami was at one game, or they were 9-8, and then Jets were 13. So I kind of have the Jets kind of in that last spot in the division still, because pending the Zach Wilson injury, I kind of have Miami having a little bit more wins than 9. But I kind of have the Bills in the number 1. The Bills at number 1, and then Patriots at number 2 in the division. But in the conference, it can get a little chippy up there, because you got the Bills, the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Ravens, my team, Big Trust Nation, baby, Ravens flock, the Bengals. So, but there should be. I'm kind of leaning toward that same kind of like standings. The Jets, they're like the Giants. They can never win games. So, yeah, I think I can kind of agree with the last season schedule, or the conference, or the division with that.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Buffalo is clearly the best team right now.
For sure.
I think the Dolphins and Patriots, you can kind of interchange it.
Yeah, kind of flip-flop. Yeah.
Me being a Patriots fan, maybe the homer in me, I'd put the Patriots second. But I see both teams being 8, 9, 10 at best win scenario. And then, the Jets are the Jets.
Jets are the Jets.
Eventually they'll figure it out. I mean, I think Zach Wilson can get them there. It's just that he's got to, get over his accuracy issues, because he does turn over the ball a little bit too much for me. But I think, they're still playing like the long game. I don't think there's, many expectations in New York for the Jets. So
yeah, I do see the Jets winning now. If like Wilson is out for a couple of weeks, and they do have Joe Flacco. He was our quarterback. He's still a veteran.
Yeah.
So I can still see them winning a couple more games than 4, just because of Joe Flacco. But I mean, they don't really have I don't know who their running back is. I don't know. I know Corey Davis is on there for the receiver court. They had no names for like receivers, like who still need to show that they're proven receivers. But like I said, with that being said, who knows? I think the Jets said that Wilson could start, but it's leaning towards more Flacco for the start of the season. So I'll give him a little bit more, maybe like 2 plus wins, tack onto that 4. So they'll be like 6-13. But still, who knows? Joe Flacco can maybe carry the Jets, but I don't know. Like with that division, it's kind of like the Bills, Patriots, Miami, and then their last.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll move on to the next division. Let's look at the AFC North. That's kind of a division that has been the Steelers for a while now, but now that they're post Big Ben and they're kind of working in Kenny Pickett. I know that they said Mitch Trubisky is going to start, but I'm not expecting him to play the whole season. And, we have the Ravens, Jordan's team there. You have the Lamar Jackson contract situation that's kind of looming over their heads, but I'm sure they'll figure that out. You have the Browns, who went through the whole offseason with the whole Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield drama, which they figured out, but now Watson's out for 11 games, I think. 11 games, and then the Bengals, who, they were just in the Super Bowl last season, but they have to try to get over the hangover where a lot of teams that get to the Super Bowl and lose kind of struggle the following season. Right. So I guess we'll start with Jordan. What are your thoughts on?
I kind of have. I've been talking with my friends about this division a lot. The AFC North is kind of like it's going to be between. It's like the AFC. The AFC East, it's like those 2 teams flip-flopping, Ravens and Bengals. I just say that because, like you said, the Browns, they're without Watson for like half the season, technically. And then you have, like you said, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Steelers. So it can either be Pickett or Trubisky. So I kind of have the Ravens flip-flopping, the 1 and 2. And I see Like you said, we still have that Lamar contract, which we can talk about like on another show. But yeah, I mean, I kind of had those two teams flip flopping, and then the Browns and Steelers fighting for that third and fourth. Just because we don't know like how Brissett's going to carry the Browns. Yeah, it's remained to be seen. But I see those top two locked in for 1 and 2 or 2 and 1 or.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, do you think the Browns have enough pieces around Brissett that they can at least make it somewhat interesting?
Dylan? Do you know who the receivers are? I mean, I don't know who the receivers are, man.
They got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's more of like a deep threat. Anthony Schwartz, who's been kind of having an camp. I mean, Amari Cooper, but I mean, a lot of people are down on Amari Cooper this year. But again, it still could be something. I mean, they still have David Njoku, who's actually been like really good as of late. I mean, he's had a high camp. They paid him really well this offseason, so I think they believe in him. And then, I mean, Kareem Hunt, they use him as a receiver in like the running back position. But other than that, I mean, Brissett's going to be thrown to mainly Amari Cooper and probably Njoku, and then the rest of the receivers are going to be between like David Bell, who's still a rookie, but it's just going to be like a flip-flop between younger guys, rookies, different things like that, and Amari Cooper being the one mainly.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, definitely the Watson 11-game suspension does hurt their chances. And I guess pose the question, do you think they should have, knowing everything they knew about the Watson situation, you think they should have done what they do with Mayfield and kind of isolate him to the point where they had to trade him?
That situation was like messy from the start. And it goes back with the Lamar contract because now like Washington got 230 million or 230. Collar got like 230 something. And then Russell got 245. So
yeah,
it just all messes up Lamar's contract. And I don't think like maybe the Browns organization knew something that we didn't know. That's why they assigned him. But I don't we haven't seen the man in like one a half a year, 2 years. So
yeah, it's been a while.
They kind of jumped the gun on that contract, but now they're kind of screwed. I mean, 11 games without Watson, and you have what has Brissett done in the league? Like, I haven't really seen him do much. I mean, I know he's a good quarterback, but I don't see him leading that team to like a playoff berth. And we'll see when he comes back. Watson comes back after 11 games, but the things will already be done already.
Right. Okay. I guess Dylan, if you got anything you want to add about the North?
Basically, I kind of agree. I have the Ravens being my division winner. If I had to pick one, I have the Ravens were like one of the most injured teams in the league last season, and that kind of really just changes your whole outlook on how you're going to play, just period. I don't think we got to see a fully healthy Ravens team. I mean, the running backs were injured, the safeties were injured, corners were injured. Lamar Jackson was out for 5 weeks at one point. So like you never got to see this team fully healthy. And I think this team can be really good, fully healthy. I don't think the Lamar contract issue is really going to have a lot to play into it. It could. I mean, you can only really wait until down the line, but I don't think it's going to have that much big of an impact if he just plays. And he plays and then just waits until the offseason and deals with all that stuff then. I think picking up Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton were great additions, especially with a team when you're going to have to go against the Bengals, who are going to have a great receiving core, who's going to be throwing a lot. So upgrading your secondary and getting your secondary healthy is going to do a lot for that division, and I think a lot for that team. I think the Ravens are going to win it. I have the Bengals being 10-7 around that range, getting my last wild card spot or one of the 3 wild card spots. It's just they're a good team. It's really just hard to like place them. I mean, like I said earlier, the AFC West just got so just hyped up and just like so like stronger. It's really hard to like place the Bengals, especially since a lot of people didn't have the Bengals being as good as they were last year. No one expected Jamar Chase to be as good. No one expected as good as Joe Burrow. T. Higgins had an amazing season. So it was just crazy from the start. And then now when you have to re-rank this team again, it's like, oh, okay, teams are going to be more self-aware now of what the Bengals have done. So I find it harder to give them like the conference or give them the division, but I find it hard not to put them in the playoffs, which is why I gave them a wild card spot. And then the remaining spots, the Browns, I have them being 8-9, 9-8, around that range. I think they're going to struggle in the Brissett era. When Watson gets back, they're going to play a little bit better, but I think just going to be too far behind to really make any noise or make a playoff push, but it'll still be an interesting team to watch. And then last, of course, I have the Steelers. Don't know how long Mitchell Trubisky is going to start until Kenny Pickett comes in. I said around week 9, week 10, they're going to be like, probably have 2-3 wins and then just throw him in there and he's going to finish out the rest of the season. But I think the Steelers are going to have some time. Najee Harris has had that Liz Frank injury, so I'm not sure how well he's going to be playing at the start of the season. He's been playing through it in the preseason, but again, I think this Steelers team could be interesting, and it could be a team that would be really good. The Steelers have run the division probably with lesser teams or teams around the same strength before and done really good. So it's all about coaching a lot of the times, and Mike Tomlin's a great coach, so he can make this team really good. But I mean, it's just really hard to tell. And if I had to pick right now, I'd have the Steelers in the last place of the division.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I do think, I mean, you said Pickett in week 10. I feel like it might be a little earlier than that, because if it looks like the Steelers aren't going to really be in contention, you might as well just put Pickett out there and get his, his career started early. Let him knock off the rust in the season that you're not really going anywhere. That way, next season, he can kind of pick up, second year. He's gotten used to the speed of the game and all that, and they'll be better next year for it. So that's kind of where but I agree with you on the finish. Yeah. Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Steelers. All right. So I guess we'll go to the AFC South now.
Mhm.
And the South has been probably the worst division in the AFC, to be honest, because it's usually Colts, Titans. I mean, pretty obvious, but I mean, the Jaguars, maybe they can start making some moves this season with Trevor Lawrence in the second year. And if you remember, they didn't have Travis Etienne last year. And hopefully he can make it through the season healthy, and they can take, a little baby step this season. And then Houston's got their own problems, but I do like Davis Mills. I think he's serviceable. He's not going to do anything spectacular, but I think they did all right in that pick. So I guess we'll start with Dylan on this one. What are your thoughts with the South?
So with the South, it's a little interesting. I like the Jaguars a lot. I think, I'm not saying the Jaguars are going to win the division or anything, but I think I feel like getting Urban Meyer out of there and getting Doug Peterson in there is a massive plus. I mean, if we look at this this team on paper last year compared to what it is, I mean, they've had additions. They might not be great additions, but no matter what, this team is still better.
Mm-hmm.
Like adding Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, that team's still better than what they were last year in receiving. I mean, just overall, this team has upgraded, and I think that's going to be really good. And then having a quarterback-friendly coach like Doug Peterson is going to be very helpful for Trevor Lawrence. I feel like this team could be second in the division or third, get 6, 7, 8 wins maybe this season, which would be really nice for them. But overall, I have the Colts winning the division. I think the Colts are going to win the division pretty confidently. Adding Matt Ryan is going to be a veteran quarterback, an MVP quarterback. The receiving core is still a little Michael Pittman is going to be their number one. I mean, Paris Campbell, if he can stay healthy, might be good. Just trying to have a healthy receiving core might be good. Jonathan Taylor, of course, is there, the leading rusher. He's poised to probably have another great season, I think. I think he'll be just fine. I don't think the Titans are really going to have a great year. I mean, Derrick Henry's coming back off of an injury. He's one of the most running backs in the league. Ryan Tannehill's getting older. They lost A.J. Brown, which I think is massive. Treylon Burks hasn't been really great through camp and everything like that. So it's just really going to be tough. I don't think Robert Woods is really going to be super great for him. He's a great receiver, but I'm not sure if he's going to be like great in that offense. We have no way to tell. And again, in a strong AFC, it's especially going to be hard. The Titans are going to have a harder schedule than what they had last year. So it's just really hard for me to put the Titans like up there. Again, I think they've lost too much. I think Tannehill is getting older in age. I think maybe at some point Malik Willis might come in and like finish out the season for them, especially if they're out of contention. And then, of course, the Texans, going to be last in the division. I mean, Davis
Right.
Mills is probably going to be a bridge quarterback for him. He's going to be someone who's going to be there until they can either build up an offense and then throw a veteran quarterback in there like a lot of teams are doing now, or find somebody in the draft. But again, the Texans are going to probably be last.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the Matt Ryan pickup for the Colts because once Andrew Luck, surprisingly retired for them, they've been searching for a good quarterback to get them over the hump because they've had talented teams for past years, but the Phillip Rivers experiment didn't work out. And Carson Wentz, I mean, I wasn't a fan of that when they made the decision to go with him, but now that they moved on from him, I think Matt Ryan is steady. He kind of fell out of favor with the Falcons, but if you give Matt Ryan a good offensive line, give him time to, survey the field, he can make plays for you. And I guess with the Titans, I mean, Derrick Henry is also creeping closer to that age 30 where we've seen running backs, especially like him, that have been used like heavily. They really start to slow down, and he's such a major portion of their offense that if he does take, a major step back, they could be in some serious trouble. But yeah, Jaguars, Texans are definitely playing for, next year, and Texans probably further down the line. But I guess Jordan, want to jump in on the
I mean, I agree with all of you with it's the Titans and Colts, and I mean I do love the new pickup for the coach of Lovie Smith for the Texans, but listen, the coach is not playing on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like but maybe he will bring that culture to the Texans. But I think I had the Titans one, and then the Colts number 2. But Dylan had a good point. They signed Matt Ryan, even though he's getting old with age, but I think he can carry. He's a way better option than Carson Wentz at that position. I think he's a seasoned veteran for that team. Now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think T.Y. Hilton is a free agent, so they don't have him anymore. He's still on the transfer wire, on the waiver wire for any team. But it's kind of like the other division we talked about in the past. I mean, it's just like that 1 and 2 is kind of like back and forth, and the other teams are at the bottom. But I do see Jacksonville getting a little bit more wins just because they had Doug Peterson. Like last year, Tennessee was 12-5. Indianapolis with Carson Wentz, they were 9-8. Houston had 4-13, and Jaguars went 3-14. So I mean, I feel like it's gonna be the same kind of like scenario, but with a couple more wins to the Jacksonville Jaguars because it is Lawrence's second year, and they did have the number 1 pick in the draft, Trayvon Walker. So who knows? But I do like you said, Kyle. Like I didn't think about that. Derrick Henry. He is getting older, but I believe he's still before he went down, wasn't he like the leading in rushing yards? So like no one has touched his But then again, like you said, they used him heavy, and like with that, how big he is, like with that injury, it's hard to recover from that injury. But we'll see how he looks like this season. But I do see that flip flopping of the Colts and the Titans for sure. And didn't they lose their a linebacker too for the whole season? The Titans?
Landry.
Yeah.
That's
Landry.
gonna be a big loss for them.
It's gonna be a big loss for them too. So I mean, we'll see. It all remains to be seen. But I do agree with both y'all with the 1 and 2, and then the 3. I'm not sure. I see the Jackson at the 3 spot, just because it's that division. But yeah, I mean, I have those 2 at the lock at the 1 and 2.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think the Jaguars will at least be, more competitive. And
for sure.
Yeah, they'll make it tougher on Indy and Tennessee.
Just like Dylan said, like Doug Peterson is a more quarterback-centric coach.
Yeah,
and I feel like he's way better. I think we can all agree on this episode that he is a better upgrade than Urban Meyer. I mean,
yes. I don't think he really
absolutely,
yeah. So,
I mean, I get what they were going for when they went for Urban Meyer, but yeah, that blew up in their face real quick.
Big upgrade. He brings that championship mentality from the Eagles.
Yeah.
So like we'll definitely see an upgrade in that department. But I definitely see them being a more competitive team.
Mhm.
Now they lost a couple of their players last year, just like the Ravens and other teams. Like we'll get their star players back, and we'll see what they do this year in the conference.
All right. Well, now the final division in the AFC West, which is the most talked about from the offseason.
Wild division.
I mean, it upgraded beyond anybody's belief. I mean, you get
Oh,
Russell Wilson coming over. Um, the Raiders, they have Josh McDaniels, who they stole from the Patriots. You know, it's gonna be rough to see him coaching Derek Carr, who I feel like has been kind of underrated at at points in his career. That sometimes he's a little overrated, but now I think he's kind of underrated again. We had the Chiefs, who are the perennial pick, but I kind of wonder taking Tyreek Hill out of the offense. You know, that puts more pressure on Travis Kelsey. Now defenses can kind of, hone in on him and not worry about Tyreek Hill, blowing the top off the defense because he created a lot of the space for Kelsey to operate in the middle of the field. And then the Chargers, we know, Justin Herbert, great young quarterback, made some upgrades to their defense. Offensively, they were pretty good last season. But I guess, start with Jordan.
yeah.
How do you see the West going?
Man, this is the first time I can say this. Like the AFC West is wide open.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, teams have made trades. Like you said, Tyreek Hill, he's the receiver that took the top off of the cornerbacks, and because of his speed. Now, I mean, they did add Juju Smith-Schuster, which is a little bit taller. He's taller than Tyreek Hill, so he's a big body receiver. But I mean, he's not a Tyreek Hill with the speed. So it's a big. But I mean, they still do have Travis Kelsey though, their tight end. So I mean, and I think Clyde was hilarious on there for the running back, I believe. But I can't rank these teams because it's Russell Wilson is on the Broncos. The Raiders have Derek Carr. I mean, they have Adams and they have Darren Waller. Like you said, Chargers upgraded their defense. Based off the 2021 stats, I mean, Chiefs were at 12-5, Vegas at 10-7, Los Angeles I definitely see Chargers having more wins than 9 wins, and Denver was 7-10. So they're obviously gonna be better than last year. I don't know. I can't rank this division. It can go either way, but I had the Chiefs at number 1, just because of Mahomes. I have Herbert. I think I have the Chargers at number 2, and then Mahomes at number 3. But that can flip flop because Mahomes. It's still Mahomes, And then the Denver. I mean, I see they have Wilson, so I mean, I don't know. It can either or. It can find out either or. But I feel like the NFL is like the NBA. And what I mean by that is the East is the AFC is getting more competitive than the NFC. Because with people coming from the NFC, coming from the AFC. So it's more competitive. So that division is wide open. Anyone can take it. But I think the Chiefs, they're more experienced team. They got the 1 spot, but that 2, 3, 4 spot it's up for grabs.
Yeah, I look at Denver almost like the Colts, where it seemed like they were always a quarterback away. Because I mean, Denver has a lot of weapons on offense. I mean, if they all can stay healthy, that's also another problem. But I mean, I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. I mean, I've seen him work magic in Seattle, so it's hard to assume that if he gets to Denver, where they have pieces in place, that he can't turn them into a winner. So, I mean, I think it's going to be probably. I actually have Denver winning that division, even though it's going to be tough. I mean, you could easily see all 4 teams make the playoffs. It'd be unprecedented, but it's possible. And I think the Chiefs find a way to finish second in that division. It's hard to go against Mahomes, but I do think Tyreek Hill will be missed, in certain matchups. I'd go Chargers 3rd because I like what Herbert's doing.
It's hard, right?
I mean, it's tough to say the Raiders are going to come in last, but my only thing would be maybe, first season with the turnaround on the coaching staff and everything. Maybe it takes McDaniels a year to, weed out the players that maybe don't fit his system or to kind of understand what he has in Vegas. So that's the way I have it going. Dylan,
Sure. Basically, mine's kind of the same as Jordan's. I had the Chiefs being the number one team. I mean, losing Tyreek Hill is a lot for this team, but they did make sure that they could try to figure out something or an offensive system away from Tyreek Hill. I mean, they picked up Juju Smith-Schuster. They got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They got Sky Moore in the draft. They lose Travarius Ward. They pick up Trent McDuffie in the draft. I mean, the Chiefs did really good as if they lost to position, they tried to do something where they could put a player in or someone that is not highly touted, but they did spend a first-round pick on a corner for Trent McDuffie. I mean, they got George Karlaftis. They spent a high pick on a receiver. So this team made sure that if they were losing things, they were going to try to do things to reload to stay good. Andy Reid is a great coach. I mean, obviously, him and Patrick Mahomes have been amazing together. I mean, the stats don't lie, the results don't lie. So it's really hard to pick against the Chiefs. So that's why I have them as my number one. The Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. I mean, like you said, it's hard not to believe that all four teams could make the playoffs. I mean, I have three of those four teams making the playoffs. I have the Chargers and the Broncos being the other two wild card teams alongside with the Bengals in my playoffs. I have the Chargers and Broncos finishing with the same record. The Chargers just have a better conference record, so I'm going to give them that second place spot. They're both going to be around 10-7, 11-6. I think the Chargers will be better against other AFC West teams, so I'm going to put them second. Chargers did a lot this offseason. Justin Herbert has probably, if not the most hype, the second most hype under Josh Allen for MVP consideration this year. Picking up Khalil Mack was huge. This team has just got miles better. Derwin James is going to be healthy, hopefully. I mean, you got a great defense alongside with a great offense. So it's really hard to pick against the Chargers, especially picking against Justin Herbert this year for MVP. The Broncos, you guys are Patriots, Ravens fans, respectively. I'm a Seahawks fan, so seeing Russell Wilson on Denver, is a lot. It sucks, but I mean, it's still Russell Wilson at the end of the day, and I can't be just upset that he's gone and pick against the Broncos. I mean, his results will speak for themselves. He has a good offensive line, and they still put good weapons around him for him to be good. And this is a team that has a good defense. They picked up Randy Gregory. They picked up Billy Turner to help out with that offensive line. So Russell Wilson will now have an opportunity to try to let Russ cook. I mean, this is his chance to prove that he is this good of a quarterback in MVP caliber. And if he can't do it, it kind of shows a little bit. So I think the Broncos are going to have a really good season and be a very dangerous team come playoff time, especially with Russell Wilson being that quarterback at helm. And then the Raiders, I think the Raiders are going to be a good team. Again, just happens to be in a loaded division. I think they'll be 9-8. I think they're going to do exactly what you said, weed out some of the players that they don't think are going to be a part of their future plans, whatever fits their system, and they're going to be a lot better team going into the season after. I think this is a team that could be a team that could win the division if it had just another season to figure out what molds well, what goes well. So I think the Raiders are going to be a good team around a 10-9-8 win team, but they're just going to need a little bit more till they get over that little hump to the playoffs.
So I have a question for y'all. Do you think Derek Carr, that with the new addition of Devontae Adams, do y'all think that with Waller, the guy Josh Jacobs, do you think that obviously Derek Carr is nowhere near Aaron Rodgers because the Aaron Rodgers connection with Devontae is unmatched? But do y'all think that Derek Carr, with their roster that they have, can, if they make it to the playoffs to get the wild card spot, do you think he has enough weapons to get far to the playoffs with just Adams and Waller and Winfrey?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, we've seen less. We've seen teams do more with less, and when it comes to playoff times, it just matters how well they play. I mean, when it comes down to that playoffs time, they're going to need to have Devontae Adams be big in those moments. They're going to need Josh Jacobs to be big in those moments. They could have all the talent in the world, but if they're not going to make that play, it's not going to matter. I think they do. I mean, Derek Carr's been to the playoffs a couple times before, so it's not something that's new to him. Devontae Adams has been to the playoffs a couple times before, been to conference championships. Those are nothing new to those guys. And if they do have as good as a connection as, they seem like they spend a lot of time in the offseason together. I mean, obviously Derek Carr tried to recruit Devontae Adams there. So as long as the connection's good, I think if they can make it, as long as they can show up when it's time to play, I think they can make it far for sure. I mean, that's what the Bengals had to do, and look how far they made it.
Right.
Yeah, I do think the Bengals give Raiders fans hopes that they can do something like that. Now with Devontae Adams, though, I think where Aaron Rodgers kind of got in trouble when it came to the playoffs was he like zeroed in on Devontae Adams so much that the better teams in the NFC were able to kind of figure that out, and that's why you saw Packers offenses struggle against like the 49ers last season or whatever.
Mhm.
So with Carr, because he has Waller, who he's already built, a connection with, I do think they'll be fine in that area. But kind of what we've been going through, though, the AFC is pretty tough. So,
I mean, we all saw that game last year in the playoffs, Chargers and Raiders. That was
yeah.
a back and forth game, and
I mean, whoever comes out of the West, they're going to be beat up, and they will be well tested too. So that will probably help them in the playoffs as well. And so I guess before we go to the NFC, I know, Dylan, you've been talking about your playoff teams in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you have making the playoffs as your division winners? Well, I guess your wild card teams as well.
Okay, so if I'm going from division winners, I have like the seeds in order. I have the first overall seed being the Bills,
Okay.
the second seed being the Chiefs, the third seed being the Ravens, and the fourth seed being the Colts. So that means Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Colts, they're division winners. And then my wild card teams being the Chargers, Broncos, Bengals in that order.
Okay.
So 5, 6, 7.
Jordan, you agree with that, or you
kind of So I had the I definitely have the Bills number one, and I can't wait for that Thursday night game. It's going to be a good game. Bills and Rams possibly can be a Super Bowl matchup, but I'm not. That's not like my prediction for Super Bowl. It's going to be a good game. So I kind of agree with Dylan. So I got Bills at number one, Chiefs number two, Rams at number three. I can see now it's like I see Denver at number four because of Russell Wilson. Then I have Chargers number five, and wild card I got Bengals, Titans, and then I have who's the other team I had, and then I had Miami as one too, just depending on how they do, how they gel with Tua and Tyreek. Because I mean, that's still a Tyreek. Who knows, man? He can go off. So yeah, I have them as my playoff like seeded teams.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Buffalo. I'd probably go Denver, maybe second seed. I'm really high on Denver, but I'm kind of high on Russell Wilson, so I figure he'll get them up there. I have Bengals winning the North, so 3, and then Colts as the 4th seed in the South. I do think the Ravens will be a wild card team, and I'll go Chargers and the Chiefs.
Now Dylan did make a point. So we like early in the show, he said like we were the most injured team last year, but we have to think of, like, put this in perspective. Like the Ravens and what team, the team that we had, Lamar had, we were the number 1 or number 2 seed in the conference before he went down with the injury, and that speaks volume. Like, I mean, with Dobbins out, Gus Edwards out. Marlon Humphrey got injured. I think the Packers game. We were the number 1 seed in the number 1 or top 2 teams in the conference. So, just to think about like how Dylan said, we're getting our players back. Dobbins back. We're getting we have a better O-line. I think Stanley got back to training practice yesterday. So we're getting our big O-line back. But I don't know, a wild card team. I don't see a wild card team. I think they're number 2, number 3 seed in the conference, but like you said, Bengals have been there before in Super Bowl, so I'd see why you had them. That's never they've been there. They've been there, but like just like put that in perspective. He had that team that we had. Like, maybe I'm biased, but we had that team, like that banged up team, in the top seeded like in the conference. So that speaks for what Lamar did. But then when we went down, we were 9-8, and we kind of fell back a little bit. But yeah, I can see we're coming from being a wild card, but I can't see them being a wild card this season with where our defense is. Because our defense, we're known for defense first. That's always been our motto from Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. But Yeah, I mean that after that third, fourth seed in the conference, like it's a toss up. Got the Raiders, got the so this is like I'm excited for the season. So
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, not wrong being a homer. You know, it's tough for me to not put the Patriots in the playoffs. So,
right. I'm a ride or die, man. I'm a die hard man. So.
yeah, I understand. I understand completely. So now we've touched on the AFC. Got to talk about the NFC as well. And I kind of think we can be in agreement that the NFC is probably more top heavy than
Yeah.
deep, whereas the AFC is pretty deep. I guess we'll start with the NFC East, which we know Cowboys fans love to, stake claim of the NFC East. Although I do think they'll have a legit challenge this season from the Eagles. I like what they're doing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts, and I think Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, who we talked about, the Titans, gonna miss him. I think he's a great pickup for the Eagles. And then after that, you're looking at, I guess to talk about the Cowboys real quick. The reason why I say the Eagles will probably challenge them in this division is, I don't know, it just seems like every year, they have a lot of hype behind them, but they're slowly missing like pieces that were instrumental to them being somewhat successful previous years. So no Amari Cooper, was it Tyron Smith just went down with an injury this season, and that's a big loss. I mean, they did sign Jason Peters, but still a loss, losing a guy like that. And then when you look at their depth chart, like the receivers are a little iffy. I mean, Dalton Schultz at tight end, he's a pretty good one, but I mean, outside of that, I think there could be some serious struggles for Dallas this season. Washington, I mean, they're still coming up, but I think Chase Young is out. I think he got hurt, right? And that's going to be a big loss to their defense, although their defense didn't really, meet expectations last season. I like Terry McLaurin, but not a big fan of Carson Wentz. Same thing with the Colts. Now he's with Washington. And it kind of seems like for him, this could be last chance for him to show that he's a starting quarterback. But Washington isn't that great of a team, so I don't know what that's going to look like for him. And then the Giants, they have their own issues with Daniel Jones, where if he struggles this season, he'll be gone, and then they'll be right back looking in the draft for a young quarterback again next season. And so, yeah, for me, I'm going with the Eagles in this division. I just think they're probably the most consistent and probably the most talented team in the division, to be honest. But outside of that, I don't really see any other playoff team coming out of this division. But I guess we'll start. Let's go with Dylan on this one.
Okay.
What do you see for the East?
So before Tyron Smith got injured, I probably would have had the Cowboys as the division winner and the Eagles as like a strong wild card team. But before that, I kind of changed my mind. Right now, I have the Eagles as the conference winner, and then I have the Cowboys floating around a wild card spot. But I ended up not giving it to them last second. I had them being 10-7 and missing out. So with the Eagles, I mean, picking up AJ Brown was obviously a plus. This is a team that needed another weapon to go beside Devonta Smith. I mean, that's obviously what worked at Alabama with him, was he was good outside with another weapon. Picking up AJ Brown is going to be massive. Obviously, he's a great receiver in his own right. They got Miles Sanders. They still have Kenneth Gainwell, who they're going to be using a lot. So they're going to probably be running more of a two-back system. I mean, that's what I heard going on through camp, is Gainwell got a lot of touches. They still have Dallas Goedert, who's, I think, going to be a breakout tight end candidate this year. I think he's going to have an amazing year. They did really good in the draft. They got Jordan Davis, who I think is going to be a great defensive tackle for them. They still have Darius Slay. They got James Bradbury, who's going to be, I think, a good addition as corner for them as well. I think this team is going to be really good, and they've only gotten better and better. They picked up, who was it? They traded for... Was it Chauncey Gardner? No, they traded for who they traded for the other day?
Yes, Sauce Gardner.
No. It was
him.
Gardner Johnson. It was Chauncey Gardner Johnson. Okay, I was just making sure.
Right? Yeah,
I was just making sure that was right, and I think that's just another plus into that secondary. I think this Eagle team is going to be really good. I think they can be around 11-6, 10-7, but I feel fairly confident that they'll win the division. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. Have a Jalen Hurts OU jersey. Have a Jalen Hurts like Eagles shirt. So a big Jalen Hurts guy because I'm from Oklahoma, so a big OU sports type of guy. The Giants I have being around 5 wins, 6 wins. This is Daniel Jones' last season, but I don't think he'll probably get it done. I think this team lacks just in weapons. I mean, Colin Johnson, who had a strong preseason, is out for the season. Kadarius Toney is kind of a wild card on if he'll play. If he's injured, he kind of does his own thing. Wan'Dale Robinson's been getting a lot of hype, which is good. Kenny Golladay has just, I've heard, like, had one of the worst camps possible, so it's really hard to be like have high upside on him. Sterling Shepard's getting older, probably their most promising receiver, but again, he's just a veteran. And then Darius Slayton, who's someone who's been on the trade block. So it seems like a lot of their receivers are either going to be traded or they're just not having great camps themselves. No Evan Ingram there anymore. They're going to be going with a lot younger tight ends with Daniel Bellinger, I believe, who's a rookie, is going to be their starting tight end. And then you're going to have to hope Saquon has a good season coming off of injury. So it's just going to be really hard to believe in this Giants team. They have a lot to prove, and I think it's just going to be too tough. I mean, if the Giants think a 6-win season is good for them and to keep Daniel Jones around, then I think the Giants can pull something like that out. But anything more, I think it's just going to be too tough. They don't have a lot to really just bring a season like that together, or even a playoff season. And then again with the Commanders, Carson Wentz, I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, the Colts era wasn't really great. I mean, I don't think the Commanders era is going to be any better. This team seems like they haven't so much given up on Antonio Gibson, but he was getting less and less snaps with the first team. He was being their punt returner and different things like that. Brian Robinson was looking like on pace to be the number 1 back until sadly he got shot. I still think that's probably going to be the plan. He's going to get more worked into becoming that number 1 back. The team still has Terry McLaurin, and they got Jahan Dotson, who I think was a little bit of a reach in the draft. But other than that, I mean, he's still a good target. But I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Commanders probably get a 3-4 win season and then move on from Carson Wentz and go in the draft.
All right, I guess Jordan. Yeah.
I mean, I think y'all said it for me. Like, I mean, obviously, we have the Giants sitting at number 4 in the division. They just don't have, like, Giants fans are like Knicks fans. Like, it's like they think their team is so good. I mean, I get they're diehard fans, but then I have the Commanders at number 3. Just because, like, even like Carson Wentz, I mean, he couldn't carry the Colts, so why do you think he would carry the Commanders? And plus, they got the whole Dylan Schneider's like distraction too, with the whole scandal with that, and then so I think last year the Cowboys were 12-5, but I see them like Dylan Fast. I see them being like at 10-7 just because they lost some key players. I do have faith in CeeDee Lamb. I know they got a good backup. We got Ezekiel Elliott, but he ain't the same running back as he was a couple years ago, due to injury. But they got James Pollard, I believe. He's a good running back. And Dak, I mean, that's gonna be that. But I feel like I got Eagles at number 1, just because they had AJ Brown. That's a big pickup. And then they have my boy from Alabama, Devontae Smith. So they had the Alabama connection. So yeah, I feel like I have Eagles at number 1, and then the Cowboys at number 2, and then it's a flip-flop between at 3 and 4. But Giants, I think there's a lock at number 4 for sure. But they're out of the playoffs. Giants, obviously, I already get them automatic kick out of the playoffs already. They didn't even start yet. Commanders, they could get a wild card spot, but I don't like the NFC is stacked, so they're gonna have to fight hard, battle hard. But I don't say them, because of Carson Wentz. But definitely a lock at number 1 and 2 with the Philadelphia Cowboys.
All right. Do you think that Dable coming over from Buffalo to the Giants, that he could maybe help Daniel Jones in a way? And
I mean, they had Judge. I mean, that didn't work out.
Right.
See. This is like the whole like Dable storyline is interesting because now you can look at that and be like, will Mitchell Trubisky do good with the Steelers because he was a backup for Buffalo for a year under Dable? So it's just like, man, it's really hard. I mean, I hope. I mean, Daniel. I wasn't high on Daniel Jones when he was drafted, so it's really hard to be like, I told you so, Giants. But like, I
Right.
wasn't high on him when he was drafted. So I mean, I feel like probably just moving on might be better. I mean, he is a good quarterback. I feel like he's someone that just hasn't really had right weapons or things like that, or the weapons he has had have been injured, or there's been offensive line problems, or different things like that. I don't think any of it really is going to get changed. I think like the Giants are still kind of in peril, so I think they might do better. But I feel like having a new coach in that system, they're going to just be like, yeah, you did good for the year, but we're going to look somewhere else for quarterback, or keep you around until we are ready to start that person at quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I could see that, him being a bridge to the next young guy that's there. But yeah, I guess we'll head over to the NFC North now, and much like the AFC South, the NFC North has been the Packers division for as long as I can remember. So, do you guys see anybody challenging them this season?
I mean, outside of
I
the
don't. Oh yeah, no. I mean, I don't. Other than maybe Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't. Lions won their first game in what, like 15 years last year. So, and the Bears lost, or they traded away their lineman, one of their linemen, I think, to the Cowboys. Like you said, I mean, Packers were 13-4. They ran away with the division. So I mean, and Rodgers is still there. So yeah, I don't see anyone challenging them except the Vikings. But other than that, it's a toss up. Like maybe the Bears are a little better than the Lions, but yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been the Packers division. I guess we could talk about the Vikings really quickly, because I remember, I mean, I know we in the group chat talked about Kirk Cousins a little bit, and what are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins?
I feel like Kirk Cousins is, I don't know, it's like he's just like the scale of mediocrity. I mean, like it's like Kirk Cousins has moments of where like you're like, man, he's really showing out, and then he has moments and you're like, oh, it's because it's Kirk Cousins. So it's really hard to like put him on a scale. It's like if you had to pick him out of the top third out of all the quarterbacks, he'd probably be like close into the middle. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to say with Kirk Cousins. I mean, the Vikings are going to have a new offense. I mean, Justin Jefferson's going to be more in like a Cooper Cup role, which is like really exciting to hear. We wants to give you like a lot of hype for Kirk Cousins, but then at the end of the day, it's still Kirk Cousins. So, I mean, I want him to do good. I want this Vikings team to do good. I would want the Vikings. I would like to see the Vikings just win the division from the Packers and shock everybody. But like, it's hard putting a lot of faith into Kirk Cousins like that.
I can agree with that. Then I guess another question I have for the division is, what? So Justin Fields, you think he's the right guy to get the Bears back into a playoff contention, or do you think he may have to move somewhere else before he really starts, becoming a good quarterback?
I mean, I feel like he could be good for the Bears. I mean, I don't feel like Justin Fields is really the problem. Of course, he's been kind of up and down, but as we saw in his last preseason game, granted it's preseason, he can still play really well. I mean, I feel like the Bears need to do one thing, and that's figure out weapons for him. I mean, the only weapon they got was 25-year-old Velus Jones Jr., who is older than a lot of the players and like a lot of the rookies and stuff like that from last year and the year before that, and even some starting receivers. So, I mean, I feel like this team needs to crack down. I really feel like they should just get rid of like everybody and kind of like staff wise and like kind of like rebuild. I think Justin Fields is a good quarterback. You just have to give him weapons to work with. I mean, they have Darnell Mooney, which is nice. They have Cole Kmet, who could be a breakout candidate. But other than that, I mean, you still have David Montgomery, who's a running back. I mean, you have just not a lot to build around towards Justin Fields. So I feel like if he has a bad season this year, it's going to be like, oh, Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. but a lot of the storyline won't be what did the Bears have done to build around him. So I think he can, as long as they build around him properly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Dylan too. Like, I feel like the Bears should start out with Justin Fields. They drafted him, so they had to have high praise for him. The way he felt in the draft. So he should be like the piston, just like Lamar is for Baltimore, and like how Matt Stafford is for LA. He can be that centerpiece, but like you said, I don't see them winning anything unless they clean house. They got to get star players, but I don't think it's hard to do. I mean, obviously he's a good quarterback, and like you said, he was put in a tough situation. Like they're already losing, and they had Matt Nagy, which was not a good coach.
Right. Yeah.
I think we can all agree that the Packers, this is their division this year again. But yeah, like to answer to your question, yeah, I think he is the answer, but not the season. Maybe in the future when they have some better players, better receivers. I mean, I think they have Montgomery, I believe, Montgomery as a running back.
Yeah.
But that's I don't know any of the receivers. I don't know any of their O linemen. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But for the future, yeah, he's their quarterback.
Yeah, I never understood why Matt Nagy seemed like he wanted to turn Justin Fields into like a pocket passer.
Yeah, he can run the ball. I mean, he can run it.
Yeah, that's what he did at Ohio State. If the play broke down, he could make plays with his legs. I mean, he's smart enough to know when to get down. And even times at Ohio State, we saw him like run over secondary players and get extra yardage. And like I said, I just never understood why Nagy took that part of his arsenal away to make him fit whatever system Nagy was trying to run. It didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, so I guess we can all agree Packers will win this division, and the rest of it, well, Vikings probably second, and then
I think I had it Bears Lions.
Bears Lions. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you agree with that, Jordan?
Yep,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So NFC South, kind of the same thing where it's been the Bucs division for the past couple of years. We know that Tom Brady has had some issues off the field, which I guess we can talk about in a little bit here. But I mean, the Saints, they're getting Jameis Winston back. He's another interesting guy to me because if you remember at Florida State, he squinted a lot. He squinted all through his career. And then out of the blue, he gets LASIK surgery.
He gets LASIK. Like that was like one of the craziest storylines. Like Jameis Winston getting LASIK, and I was like, he's a quarterback.
Yeah, I've always wondered, like when he dropped back and he was scanning the field, what was he seeing? If he now decided to get LASIK surgery, but I mean, maybe he'll do a tell-all book and let us all know what was behind that decision. We have the Falcons where. Now with no Matt Ryan, they've got Mariota, but he's clearly the bridge to Desmond Ridder. Defense is still an issue in Atlanta, and Deion Jones is now out for I think the first like 4 weeks or so, I think. And who am I missing that division? Oh, the Panthers, where they now have Baker Mayfield, who's been named the starting quarterback, which we could all see that coming. I mean, you don't go out of your way to trade for him and then turn around and not start him week one because not like you were getting the best out of Sam Darnold anyway. So Mayfield clearly has to be an upgrade over him. But I guess, Jordan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, like you said, like Tampa has just like the NFC North. There's like the Packers took away with the NFC North. I feel like the Tampa Bay has rolled over the NFC South, but they did lose a key center in Ryan Jensen. Unfortunately, he went down in training camp, and like with his age, I mean, he needs an O-line to protect him at all costs. Not saying he could get injured possibly. I mean, he's got injured before in his early on in his career. But I mean, they do have um, Mike Evans still. They have Leonard Fournette, which I picked up in my fantasy draft. We'll see how he does. Um, and then yeah, I mean it's still Tom Brady. It's still Tom Brady, so you can't really bet against Tom Brady. But they lost a lot of key pieces on the O line. I know they lost. What didn't they lose their backup to Justin too? Like the one that's supposed to be in his place. I believe he got injured.
Yeah,
too.
I don't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
ACL too. So he did have really bad luck, and like you said, he's gone through some certain things. That Tom Brady missed like 11 days.
Mhm.
I'm missing one receiver. Was it Godwin?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, they had the receiving corps to do. Oh, they picked up Julio Jones, but he's getting up there with age. He's injury prone.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we have to remember that the Saints did beat them in the first game of the season last year. That was out.
The Buccaneers haven't beat the Saints at all in the regular season.
Exactly.
He's been their quarterback.
And think about it, the Saints have gotten better. I know Winston went down with that injury, unfortunately, but he's back healthy. They're getting the help, possibly healthy Michael Thomas back. They have Kamara, but he might get suspended, depending on how they rule that. And they got the rookie Olave, and then they have Cameron Jordan on the defense. I mean, they still got a good piece around them. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I have the Tampa Bay number 1, Saints number 2, and like you said, Atlanta they had Mariota, but I mean they lost Calvin Ridley for the whole season due to the betting scandal, or not scandal, the betting situation. And then the Carolina,
that was a weird story.
Yeah, weird story.
Yeah.
And then the Carolina Panthers, they were at 5-12 last year. Atlanta was -3, 7-10. Saints were 9-8, and they ran away with the Tampa with 13-4. So I kind of see the same scenario, but I see the Saints getting a little more wins. I see them having the wild card spot. But yeah, I mean that 3-4 in the division, like I have Carolina at 3 if that was a 4, just because they had bigger midfield and then they have Christian McCaffrey coming back. So yeah, I mean it's a toss up in that 3 and 4 spot, but yeah, like you said, Tampa Bay has run with that division. I think they're going to do that in 2022 or 2023 season.
Yeah. Dylan, you want to add in?
Yeah, basically it's the same. I mean, I have the Bucks winning the division. I mean, yeah, losing Ryan Jensen sucks, but Chris Godwin, I heard that he got his brace removed today. So that's a really good sign for him practicing and coming back. He's going to be a key addition onto this offense, and getting him back as soon as possible is going to be a great sign. Leonard Fournette, I mean, it's hard for me to really give an honest opinion about Leonard Fournette. I think he's a good running back. I feel like he's overhyped a little bit in my opinion, but he's had great playoff runs, which makes him as why he is as hyped as he is. I feel like this team is going to be a really good team. It's really hard to get bet against Tom Brady. I don't think him really having all these outside issues is really going to affect his play. I think it's more going to affect his decisions at the end of the season. I feel like this season probably will be his last season, especially if a lot of things are coming out about his wife's upset. He even said himself today, he has a kid who's starting freshman football and stuff like that. So I imagine all those outside issues will play into his end of the season decision, not this one. The Saints have as being a wild card team. Jameis Winston was he 5-2 or 5-1 before he got injured? It was one of those two. So I mean, the Saints are obviously a really good team. They haven't lost to the Bucks in the regular season at all. I mean, again, that's just the regular season. Doesn't matter when the playoffs come. But I think this receiving corps is going to be good. I mean, you're going to have Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. Already a great combo. Alvin Kamara, I believe he's going to play the full season. I don't think he'll get any sort of suspension until next year. Cam Jordan is obviously a beast on defense. You still have a great secondary between trying to think of the corner. Lattimore. Yeah, Marshawn Lattimore. There we go. I couldn't think of it. I mean, it's still going to be a good team overall. I feel like it'll be a good 10-7, 11-6, but more of a 10-7 range. The third team I have is the Panthers. I have the Panthers actually being a team that could shock and be a sneaky wild card playoff spot. I mean, the NFC is kind of like you said, top heavy. So those wild card spots can go to like any number of teams, really, as long as you have a good enough season. I think the Panthers could be one of those teams that make it. Baker Mayfield is the new quarterback there. Big Baker Mayfield guy, like I said earlier, OU quarterback guy. So like seeing Baker Mayfield in a new place. Christian McCaffrey's healthy, and hopefully he can stay healthy, because if he can, that's going to be just a massive weapon for Baker Mayfield to have. Probably more, and I wouldn't say more than the Browns ever gave him, because they did give him Jarvis, Odell, and Nick Chubb, who are all good in their own rights. But I mean, he'll have Christian McCaffrey, hopefully a healthy Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. So I feel like this team could be really good and a fun team to watch, but I don't feel like they're good enough defensively. I think they might need a little more on the offensive side to help out to win. I mean, they have a good offensive line for Baker to be under, but still not a great offensive line. I feel like the team needs a little bit more, but I feel like Baker shows flashes of being able to be a QB1 there. The Panthers re-sign him, get him onto a longer deal, and they go from there. And then the Falcons, I feel like the Falcons could be a good team, but not having Calvin Ridley for a whole season really kind of hurt you. I feel like having an offense that would have been Marcus Mariota, Cordell Patterson, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, Kyle Pitts looks really fun on paper, but not having Calvin Ridley changes a lot. I feel like this Falcons team could still steal some games from people, be a really fun team to watch. Around 5-6 wins for them. I think Desmond Ridder probably comes in towards the end of the season, and he might take over, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mariota played out the whole season.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask that, if Ridder would see time this season.
I feel like it's very possible. I think it's very possible, but it just depends on the record. Like if Mariota's just playing good and it's just they're losing because like just close games or this and that, I imagine he might play out the season. But if like they're getting blown out, I imagine Ridder will probably come in and play.
Okay. All right. So we can all agree the Saints would be the most likely to challenge the Bucs in this division.
For sure.
And I do think the week one, I mean, the NFL schedule makers, how they figured this out. We have Cleveland playing Carolina week one. Unfortunately, Watson wouldn't be there. Otherwise, that matchup would have been that much bigger. But
the NFL is interesting with their schedules. I mean, you also got Seattle and Denver.
Yeah. Like, what are the odds? 2 games the first week like that, but that's the NFL for you. So now the final division, the NFC West. And I think this is another interesting division because you have a lot of quality teams. A couple of teams have some injury issues that if they can make it through their whole season healthy, I guess like the 49ers could very well be a repeat playoff team. The Cardinals have kind of started off really hot the past few seasons, and then Kyler Murray or whatever, the offense kind of has broken down towards the end of the season, which is why they've missed the playoffs by like a game or so. The Rams coming back, defending Super Bowl champion. We'll get to see them Thursday night, but now the target's on their back as the defending champion. So they're going to get everybody's best test, and whether or not, Stafford can repeat his performance from last season would be interesting to see. And then we have the Seahawks where, Pete Carroll, they're clearly rebuild mode. They're blowing it up. I was kind of surprised that they didn't, move like DK Metcalf and a couple of other pieces that they had where they could have gotten something for and just completely tear it down. But didn't they give Metcalf a contract extension?
We gave him a big extension.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much it was, but he's paid. Yeah, I think it's around the same amount like AJ Brown got. A little bit more maybe.
Right. So they've clearly identified that he's going to be, I guess, the guy to build the next, hopefully successful, Seahawks team. And obviously Geno Smith probably wouldn't be the quarterback for that. And I don't think Drew Lock is their answer either. So some young quarterback out there in college somewhere will be throwing a DK Metcalf pretty soon. So I guess, you want to jump in whichever one since the last division. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see the Seahawks like just like how you said, they lost Bobby Wagner. He went to the Rams. I kind of see them in the 4th spot in the division just because, obviously Metcalf is there, and I mean Pete Carroll is still the coach, but like you said, Geno Smith could be the answer possible. I leave a big question mark on for the year, and then like Drew Lockett, he didn't do anything in Denver. So I mean, we'll see. But then I kind of see the Rams, and I think I see the Rams at number 1, and then not the number 2, and then Arizona at number 3, right ahead of the Seahawks. Just because they have Ertz as their tight end, but D Hop, I think he's suspended. I think I'm not sure how long, for how many games. I mean, damn, I didn't know that. So I don't know. But they signed Marquise Brown. I mean, he got a DUI, but like not even the first week of in the season, they got a DUI. But yeah, I kind of definitely see a lock at number 1 and 2 with the Rams and the 49ers because they signed Garoppolo. But I do have faith in Trey Lance because he's still young and he was going off in the preseason. And I think it's time for them to let him loose and let him play. I think that he reminds me of like a young, same as Hurts. Like, saying he can run it. He can throw. He has a strong arm. I think if you look at 75-yard bomb in the preseason, so we've seen he can throw the ball. But yeah, the Rams and the Finals are number 2, and then it's between 3 and 4. I still think that Seattle's number 4. Then I think I had the Arizona number 3.
Now, do you think for the 49ers that it was smart to bring back Garoppolo? Because we heard all season that they were turning over to Trey Lance and Garoppolo was going to be gone.
Man, it's tough because like when you hear the Garoppolo situation, it's like he didn't even get like a playbook. Like he was practicing by himself. Like he was not working with the team, not working with the offenses, not doing anything like that. And then for them just to re-sign him and be like, oh yeah, you're the backup now. Here's a playbook. It's just like, I mean, obviously Garoppolo wasn't in the plans, and it makes me worry a little bit about Trey Lance. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe they didn't think he was as good. And I'm not saying that's what it is. Maybe they're just saying they couldn't find something that they're like, and they're waiting till a quarterback hopefully doesn't get injured, but a quarterback gets injured, and then they can ship him off then. I mean, it's probably good in a sense if Lance gets injured or Lance is bad, but I mean, from what I've heard, Lance was a little peeved about the situation. He wasn't like totally on board with it at first. So, I mean, as long as everyone is fine with it, everyone can get along, and Lance is fine. I mean, it should work. They gave like Jimmy G like a no trade clause in a sense where basically he has to approve any trade before he goes.
Right. Yeah.
So that I find that a little interesting that they would do something like that as well. But I mean, Lance is still starting. They probably restructured it to make Jimmy easier to trade just in case they do find a partner later on down the line. So it's just interesting. It's just hard to tell until we see how Lance plays.
Right. Well, kind of like you said, it could go one of two ways. Lance could go out there, start, play great, and then we never see Jimmy Garoppolo again with the 49ers. Or he continues to like look over his shoulder, and if he struggles a little bit, how quick of a hook will the Niners coaching staff have with him? And can they, after all this where they said Garoppolo wouldn't be there, then they keep him, could they really turn to him and have him go out there as a backup? And how's Garoppolo supposed to feel about that? I mean, he's saying all the right things now, I guess, but I'm sure he was, set on being somewhere else this season. So that's, I mean,
I feel like they didn't want to cut him. I feel like they didn't want to cut him. They were too worried about cutting him and Seattle picking him up. That's basically it. They're worried about cutting Jimmy G and Seattle scooping him up. And then they didn't want to face him week 2 is basically what I've heard is like the 49ers would not want to go up against Jimmy G in week 2 and rather would just keep on to him and wait.
It's tough seeing a former quarterback stay within a division because then, they'll see you twice a year. They kind of know the system you're running and all that. So, I mean, I understand that. It's just that they built it up from last season so much that they were moving on from them.
Yeah, going to the Browns or somewhere, what I'm saying? That was the only team that they were, that was the only team in the market because, now, if you went to the Browns now, that would have shook up my division in the AFC North because but that was the only team that I heard that in reports, the Browns, because the Watson case. But like you said, they meet the hype up. They're gonna trade him. Even with what's the receiver, which he signed, but
Debo.
Debo, yeah, but
Debo's back.
I mean, they hyped up that like they're going to trade him, like he wasn't going to training camp, but now he's back on the team. But yeah, like they hyped up so much, and then now they signed him. But like you said, like maybe they signed him because they don't have faith yet in Trey Lance because he hasn't gotten enough playing time. So if he does go down or he does struggle, well, they can have Jimmy Garoppolo as a security blanket. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I guess Dylan, how do you see the West shaking up?
So the West, I have the Rams winning. I have the Rams being the third overall seed in the NFC. I feel like a lot of news has been coming out about Matt Stafford, like he's been injured. I mean, he's kind of been having this lingering injury out throughout camp, throughout the preseason. It's something I've heard that could be a problem into the regular season now. I think that matters to an extent. They'll have Cam Akers back, who will have a whole offseason of recovery. I mean, he tore his Achilles? Was it his Achilles that he injured and then ended up still coming back and playing in the playoffs? Now they have Cam Akers, who's going to be more like rehabbed, more ready for the season. They still have Darrell Henderson, who I think is a really good running back. Cooper Kupp, who just won the Triple Crown. Allen Robinson, who has never played with a good quarterback until now in his career, and who's obviously been a great quarterback. I feel like this Rams team is still going to be really good. I feel like this is a Rams team that could repeat. It's going to be hard not to have them atop of this division or the NFC. I feel like it's going to be a really good team, and I don't feel like a lot of the NFC made a lot more strides on like the AFC to be like more competitive. You said from the start it's top heavy. I think it's like top heavy when it comes to 3 teams, and then like the rest is like whatever you want. So I feel like the Rams are going to be a pretty strong front runner to win. I have the 49ers being the second seed. Not the second seed in the NFC West. I have them and the Cardinals having the same record. I think Trey Lance is going to be good, but I feel like Trey Lance is obviously going to have his growing pains to start off with. I feel like it's going to be a little bit to get connections with Debo, or a better one, connections with Brandon Ayuk, connections with Kittle. I mean, I feel like this is going to be a really good team, and I feel like Trey Lance could thrive in this offense, especially having as many weapons as he did. I remember back in that draft, I said whoever gets drafted to the 49ers is going to have like a hell of a time as a quarterback, because they're going to be put in such a great situation. I feel like Lance is going to have a little bit of time. I feel like we're going to be questioning him a lot at the start of the season, but I feel like he's going to figure it out, get under a good flow, and he's going to take this 49ers team to a wild card spot. I have the Cardinals being my last wild card spot. Like I said earlier, it was hard to pick and choose, but I ended up giving it to the Cardinals. I feel like the Cardinals are kind of going to be in the same situation as the 49ers. I feel like they're going to be slow starting off, especially not having DeAndre Hopkins. Zach Ertz might not play this first week, so they're going to have to lean a lot on Trey McBride. I feel like this is a team that could start off slow, and then they could get like some good connections going. I mean, Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown played together in college, so I mean, they already have a good friendship and connection there. I feel like this is a team that can start off slow and then pick it up, and then by the time they get DeAndre Hopkins back, they can pick it up more and end up being a good playoff team and finally getting over that hump of missing out by 1 game or 2 games and finally like be in. And then last, of course, sadly, I have my Seahawks. I mean, we lost Bobby Wagner, Chris Carson retired. I mean, we're going practically with not a whole new offense, but a new quarterback. We're going to be more run-centric. I mean, Rashad Penny was one of the top backs at the end of the season. He just went crazy when he came back from injury. We got Kenneth Walker, who's going to be good. I feel like the Seahawks team, I've heard people give a little bit of hype to. I'm thinking they're going to be a great team, or just a better team, or even a team that can be sneaky. I don't really have a lot of faith in Geno Smith. I mean, we saw him play a decent amount when Russell Wilson was out, and he still lost a good amount of games. It seemed like he had a problem being like clutch in those close moments. So, I mean, it's really hard to like give the Seahawks more than a 5-6 win season, but I mean, they could also have an amazing rushing attack, and I could be totally eating my words. I mean, Pete Carroll is a good coach. So it's just really tough. I mean, it's hard being a Seahawks fan and having those years of being like good. I mean, I think we missed the playoffs 1 or 2 times. in a while. I mean, since we even had our Super Bowl runs. So it's gonna be different. This is gonna be kind of a lot different Seahawks team. I mean, I wouldn't want to say pieces would get traded. I mean, obviously we kept DK Metcalf. Hopefully, maybe we're just doing another route where we're waiting for a veteran quarterback or drafting one in the system. Hopefully, we don't move on from pieces like Tyler Lockett and different things like that. But also, a lot of pieces could be open just to be moved as well. This is a team that could be rebuilding or just waiting for a quarterback. You really can't tell with Pete Carroll. He kind of just runs his offense, and that's about it.
Well, I guess my last thought with Trey Lance is, I think the biggest thing you could do with a young quarterback is just let them figure it
Let
out.
him go.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of times we'll see young quarterbacks will get out there, and the minute they start struggling, fans start booing and all that, and then it almost seems like the organization feels like they have to pull them back to kind of save face. Where it's like, Lance, Hurts, Fields, guys like that, just let them be. Clearly, you drafted them for a reason. They have talent. They'll figure it out eventually. But I guess with that, we'll talk about the NFC playoff picture, I guess. So I guess it's safe to say we can kind of agree Eagles winning the East, Packers the North, South the Bucks, and I
The
think
West, the Rams.
the West is Rams,
Yeah,
Cardinals, or
Yeah. I have the Rams winning.
Rams. Yep.
okay, so we have the Rams. All right. So then now wild card can go any way with any combination of three teams. So Jordan, who do you think will be the wild card teams in the NFC?
I think it's gonna be the Cowboys get the first wild card.
Okay.
And then it's gonna be it's three wild card spots, right? Three wild card spots.
Yep.
So the Cowboys, I definitely see. Go back to the I'm looking at the scores. So yeah, so I definitely see the Cowboys at the first wild card. Then I see the Cardinals taking the number 2 wild card. Just like Dylan said, like when they might have a slow start in the beginning of the season, but when they get D Hop back, they're gonna take the top off that offense and gel like that. And they got like they said, like Dylan said, also they have that connection at Oklahoma with Kyler and Hollywood. So I got them taking the number 2 wild card spot, and the third one, it's a toss up. I feel like it's gonna be the Vikings taking that wild card spot. Just because they have Cousins and Jefferson, and they still got Thielen too. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and that's a team that we said can knock off the Packers. So I see them taking that third spot. But it was hard to make that decision because like there's other teams that I see, but I definitely see the Vikings in the third spot.
Do you have any changes to that, Dylan? Or
yeah, my playoffs, if I had to put my wild card spots, I had it in order being Saints, 49ers, and the Cardinals. I didn't have the Vikings make it, but now the Vikings making it, it isn't anything absurd. I mean, I tossed around that idea. I tossed around the idea of the Eagles being a wild card and the Cowboys winning the division. Mm-hmm. Tossed around the idea of those flip-flop Eagles winning Cowboys wild card. But I ended up deciding on the 49ers, Cardinals, and the Saints as being my 3 teams. Again, it's like in the AFC, it's kind of like pretty clear. It's like maybe you could have the Titans, maybe the Browns, maybe the Bengals. But like in the NFC, it's just like, who's probably going to win the division. Like it's kind of clear cut. And then like the wild cards are just from between like a handful of teams. Like I could see maybe the 49ers, Cardinals, Cowboys or Eagles, and then maybe like the Saints and the Vikings. And some of those teams are going to win their division, so it leaves it like very small. But Saints, 49ers, and Cardinals are my wild card teams I have.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'd probably say I'm one of those who thinks the Vikings can pull
I
one
agree
of the
too.
spots.
I think it is. I think it is too. It's just I have hard times with Dalvin Cook because he's kind of injury prone. So I'm afraid he's going to be out in some key games, or he's going to be out here and there. And then it's the Kirk Cousins thing. It's just like, man, it's like if they make it, it'll be good, but how far will they make it is the thing.
True. But yeah, I agree. Basically, all the the playoff teams in the NFC are pretty easy to come up with, but the last one, is stuck between Vikings or Saints, and then whether you go Eagles or Cowboys, that's really the only decisions to make in the NFC for me. But now that we've gone through all of that, I'm gonna throw this out there to you guys, put you on the spot. Who do you have being in the Super Bowl at the end of the season?
Oh, so for me, it was the NFC was the toughest part to decide because looking at my playoffs, if I had my playoffs, the 7 teams I would have would be the Buccaneers being the first seed, Packers, Rams, Eagles, Saints, 49ers, Cardinals. And picking between them, it's really hard not to just pick between the Packers, Rams, and Bucks. I ended up picking between one of those three. I had my NFC championships being Buccaneers versus Packers, and then I ended up having the Buccaneers winning and going and being the NFC side. And then on the AFC side, I had my championship being Bills and Chiefs. I had the Bills winning and finally beating the Chiefs in the playoffs, and then my Super Bowl being the Bills and the Bucks. I have the Bills winning. I feel like Josh Allen needs to have a prove-it year. I think he needs to kind of really show like this Bills team is serious. I mean, they've kind of been like a favorite to win last year and the year before that, and they haven't. So I think they're kind of in a time where they need to like gear up and like try to win something. And I feel like this year is their year. I believe in Josh Allen. He is probably my MVP favorite. I've been tossing around him or Lamar Jackson. I just like the idea of Lamar Jackson winning MVP on a contract year. But Josh Allen is one of my favorites. I'm the favorites to win the MVP. Stephon Diggs is a great receiver. I think Gabriel Davis will have a great season. I feel like James Cook, their rookie running back, is going to be really good for him. I feel like Devin Singletary is still going to have a great season. They still have Dawson Knox. This is a better defense. Hopefully Tre'Davious White is going to be better when he comes off the PUP list off the first 4 weeks. I feel confident in the Bills winning. I feel like this is their year to prove it. And if they don't, it's really, when is it going to be their year then?
Jordan, who you got?
Yeah. I mean, we can all agree that both conferences are team heavy, especially with new trades, new players on new teams. But I definitely think that depending on the Ravens' health, I see them getting past the. See, I'm trying to be like real here. Like if we stay healthy, think on health, we can get, if Lamar can put it together with Dobbins in health, and stay healthy, I feel like they can get to the AFC conference. And like everyone wants to see the Ravens and the Chiefs in the AFC conference, like for the past couple of years. But I think I see it's hard not to pick the Ravens because I want to see Lamar get that chip like on his contract year. That'd be great. But just depending on how far our defense goes, I can see them going far. But Super Bowl prediction, I would have to say the Rams come out of the AFC because because of Tom Brady family. Now I think I got the Bucks in the championship. Then I have the Bills, just like Dylan said, the Bills. And then it's gonna be a tight one. I think Brady with his experience is gonna win, but it's gonna be a close game. But yeah, I wanted to the Ravens too, but there's so many different teams that can make a deep run in the playoffs. It's hard to pick a team, but with Brady still in the league, I have him in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. Then I have the Bills in there, but I can also the Chiefs too. Because with Mahomes, but I don't think they can get far without Tyreek Hill. But they do have Kelsey. But yeah, I see the Buccaneers and Bills in the championship in the Super Bowl.
Okay, I just thought of a question because with Aaron Rodgers, we just lose Dylan. Oh, okay. With Aaron Rodgers, do you think he needs to get another Super Bowl, like not even just an appearance, but another ring before we could really consider him to be one of the, what kind of, some people think he's the best quarterback they've ever seen or whatever, but it's hard when you're looking at Brady and the success that he's had to really say that.
Right.
So do you think Aaron Rodgers needs another ring to even enter that conversation?
It's tough because like a lot of people want to like say like players with like good stats deserve to be in, but a lot of the times like hardware matters. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has the MVPs. I mean, he has what, 3 or 4 now.
Hmm.
Um, I would have to say so. I mean, at the end of the day, like you play to win the Super Bowl at the end of the year. You don't play to win just an MVP. I mean,
Right.
the whole goal is to win the Super Bowl. Sorry, I keep getting a call, but basically,
Sorry.
It's all good.
basically like yeah, I feel like he would have to get one. He would have to get another Super Bowl to win. I feel like, I mean, he's still a great quarterback and he'll still go down in the Hall of Fame, but if we want to consider him as like one of the GOATs, one of the greatest, I think he needs another Super Bowl to do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think another Super Bowl would kind of like, shut the Aaron Rodgers haters up. But yeah, I mean, I think he needs I think one more ring or a championship under his belt to get it done. But like you said, Tom Brady has proven it that time and time again. He has seven rings. So yeah, but yeah, I think to answer your question, I think he needs one to solidify him being one of the greatest quarterbacks. But it's gonna be hard because like he lost his best friend in Adams, and not saying that the course that he has now is bad, but like you said, like if you look at the stats, like on every like sports analytic like site, that Aaron Rodgers that Adams connection is lethal, and he don't have that no more. So I mean, they have Lazard, they have Aaron Jones. So I mean, yeah, I mean, but I think he does need another ring to prove that to get him in that conversation.
Okay. Well, I guess for me to be different, because I think it's easy to go Bucks, Bills. I feel like throughout this episode, I've kind of been talking myself into the Broncos possibly making a run. And I think I'll go with Broncos, Bucks, get a repeat back when Patriots, Seahawks with Brady, Russell.
That
I
was
know,
that
I
was
know
such
it's
a
tough for
hurtful
you, Dylan.
moment.
I
Such
know.
a hurtful moment.
But I actually think this time Russell Wilson will come out on top. I think the Broncos beat the Bucks in the Super Bowl. I
I
mean, it's
like that. I
probably
like
going on
that.
a limb, but that's what I'm going with.
Okay,
I
okay.
I had I have the Broncos and I have the Broncos winning their wild card spot. I think if the Broncos do make it out of like all the teams who
Hmm.
would out of mine or even just in the AFC, I feel like the Broncos are probably the most dangerous team if they do make it. Just
Right.
because like man, I feel like Russell Wilson can just go on a different level when it comes to that playoff time, hopefully. And man, I hope his experience would just like drag the Broncos up, which I could see it happening. I mean, like if the Broncos made it to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be any bit of surprised.
Yeah, I think I mean as like this to end is like this segment. I mean, I feel like like with like just like with new players on new teams, like I feel like bearing like the record team's record, it's open because it's hard to get to the Super Bowl and repeat, especially with the Rams. So I mean, like it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. So I mean, any team can like get there, like in that top like five, top six of each conference. So I mean, it's wide open, like So it's gonna be exciting, man. It's gonna be exciting.
That's what makes the NFL great.
Hey,
There
that's what makes
is
sports
legit
great.
parity in the NFL. So teams that we
Exactly.
may have, put at the bottom of divisions could very easily make a surprise run and win a division. But like I said, that's what makes NFL great, and that is what makes sports great. But I think now we've done all the predicting and looking so far ahead, looking at week one. We're not going to go through every game because we've kind
Yeah.
of been on long enough. But what would you say is your lock of the week for the week one games?
If I had a lock of the week, I'm going Ravens Jets. I mean, there's some uncertainty with who the Jets are going to be playing at their quarterback week one. I feel like the Ravens need to come out and need to make a good, strong statement to start off their season. I feel like Lamar Jackson is going to be poised and want to make a good statement. I don't feel like Zach Wilson will play. I feel like they'll go with Joe Flacco, which is not a bad thing, and it's not hating on Joe Flacco. I just don't feel like this offense will be 100% ready. I don't feel like this team will be 100% ready, and I feel like the Ravens have something to prove. So if I had to go for a lock with this week, I would go Ravens over the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said it, like for me, I mean, but now, like that will be a good matchup because it's Joe Flacco. We all know the situation. Joe Flacco was on the team. Lamar came in half the season. So Joe Flacco is on his revenge game. But I feel like the lock, like you said, Dylan, you said it perfectly. Like Zach Wilson. Now they said Wilson could potentially start, depending on like how well the surgery went and how he's recovering. But it's all looking like Joe Flacco will be the starter for Week 1. But like you said, Lamar is on his contract year, and he's looking to go over the bang in Week 1, and we have Miami Week 2. So I mean, he's looking to go off on the Jets. But yeah, I think that's a lock because just the pieces that we have on the Ravens is just too much for the Jets to handle. So yeah, that's definitely a certified lock.
Okay. Well, I think for me, kind of to continue the trend, I'd probably go Broncos over the Seahawks Monday night as my lock.
Okay.
I mean, I know Russell Wilson's going to be ready for that, and I'm sure the fans there will. I mean, they respect what he did there, and they can understand why, he was moved in the direction that the Seahawks are going in. So once again, I know Dylan, that was probably tough for you to hear, but I'm going with the Broncos as my lock. So then on the flip side, who do you have on upset alert?
So my upset is gonna counteract your pick. I actually have the Seahawks upsetting the Broncos this week.
Okay.
They can win the trade. We can be stuck with Drew Lock. We can just have the picks and be fine. I feel like going into Seattle, it might take the Broncos a little bit to get some chemistry running or anything like that. I feel like Seattle's just going to have a good dominant run game. I feel like shock everybody Week 1. Don't feel like it would be a high-scoring affair, something along those lines. It was between this or the Lions upsetting the Eagles Week 1. But me being a Seahawks fan, why not have them win the trade? If they win the Super Bowl, why can't we have Week 1?
Hey, I understand. I see where you're coming from. I mean, Russell Wilson will have a lot of emotion that could take him out of his game early on, and maybe the Seahawks can, take advantage of that. So it's not too far out of the realm of possibility. Jordan, who you got on upset alert?
Let's start with the first game of the season, Thursday night. I thought the Bills can knock off this Rams, man, because just like the Rams are not the same team as they were in Super Bowl run. It was like OBJ is a free agent. He's still there. Cam Akers is still there. Von Miller is now on the Bills. They still got Donald on the Rams, but I feel like this could possibly be a potentially question mark Super Bowl matchup. I feel like the Bills can upset. I know they're in LA for the first game, but I think the Bills got this one for upset Week 1. I'm going first game of the season, baby. First game.
Okay. I don't know, because I was looking at the schedule and there's a few I could have gone with. I don't know. I kind of feel like being a little different. I'm gonna go with the Bears over the Niners. I don't know. I just feel like first game of the year with the questions with Trey Lance, I think he'll be better off, down the line in the season. But for the first game, could have a little bit of struggles, and I just want to see Fields do well in Chicago. So I'm go the Bears over the Niners as my upset. I think that about all we had to cover.
Yeah.
So we got through it all. I guess you guys have any final thoughts? Before we get
ready for Thursday. Excited for Thursday. Finally, the start of the season. We actually get to see real regular season football. No more preseason. No more anything. The stats matter. The records matter. Everything from now on matters. So, I'm excited. Probably one of the biggest matchups we could probably get for Week 1 being Bills-Rams. Outside of probably it being Bills-Buccaneers, it's probably the biggest matchup you could really get. Yeah. So, excited for it. I'm ready for kickoff.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. I think we're all ready for kickoff. I think at 8:20 kickoff time.
Yep.
I think we're ready, man. I mean, like I said, like this is going to be an exciting season. I'm excited to see what these new teams and what new people or new players can do. And I'm excited to have you some parties over my house for some football games because it's going to be exciting this season, man. It's going to be wild. I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. So I guess with that, that's first show of the big three in the books.
For sure, the big three.
Big three, baby.
Great to see Dylan and Jordan. And
Yeah.
of course, you guys tune in. Check out Sports Empire Network, Facebook, YouTube, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff.
Yeah, make sure you share out the posts if you like them, everything like that. Any sort of support is good support to help our content grow.
And if y'all want to be on, hop on as a guest, feel free to hop on as a guest. We can all debate. We don't matter to us. We love talking about sports. So, yeah, I think we had a good episode, fellas.
Yeah, I think it was great.
First of many.
A good first episode. Yep.
Yes.
Sure.
Because we'll be back again next Tuesday together, but of course we might pop up anywhere on the network. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I guess with that, we'll just say have a good one, guys. And like I said, Dylan, Jordan.
Yeah.
Catch you
have a good night,
some other time
everybody.
on the network, and good night. And we'll be in the group chat, so
Yeah. All right. Yes, sir. All right.
See everybody later.
All right, man.
All right.